I've got, you know, sort of two classes of brand new bridge players who learn to play from me online or from
Yep.
someone online. And now we're going to have to transition them to playing with cards at the table.
Yes.
Not for a few months, but it's going to be an interesting transition. I mean, we've been in a world where you can't revoke, where you can't make an insufficient bid, you can't lead out of turn, you
You can't do
vote
this, you know,
card
you
by
can't
right.
like touch your cards and go,
Yeah.
oh, which one?
Oh, really? Oh, God.
Well, I mean, little
No.
things like that, you know, those little subtleties of playing in a club with cards that aren't there online. Can't do that.
Big difference I've noticed is when you see the cards on the computer screen, the declare and the dummy, it's visually, it works really well compared to in your hand and looking at the cards on the board. It's just a very different feel to me, the way you read the cards quickly.
Well, it's another thing that you don't have to do online. You never have to sort your cards.
There you go.
That's right.
Yeah, they just come knocked out for you.
Exactly. They're all sorted.
That's right. You can't accidentally put a diamond with the hearts or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had that card.
Of course, there's always the case where you don't have any clubs and the hearts and the diamonds are all crunched together and you miscount them because they're all red.
Yeah, all the reds.
Yeah.
What about your Arizona partner? Will we still play online bridge?
I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm sure online bridge will never go away. I mean, online bridge was here before the pandemic. It was big, but I mean, now of course it's the only thing. So it's 5 times bigger than it was.
I know people who don't want to go back to, I know people who do not want to go back to
online
game.
bridge will always be there, but I want a bridge club. I want tournaments. I want to stumble out of my hotel room and go down to the ballroom and buy an entry and get into a team game and go to the partnership desk and find a partner and go to the nationals and hear the speakers and I want to go to the bridge club and spend all day playing cards and cleaning up food and all.
I want to look at Kenton Nelson paintings at Mojo's Club.
Oh yes, there's hope for that. We'll see. I haven't gone there. I haven't touched it yet. All right, I'm going to mute everybody and cut down the background noise. You can always unmute and ask a question at any time. And so let's start. I'm going to talk about entries. And let me share the right table. Entries are the subject and here, come here. Okay, I'm going to get it this way. There we go. I would like to see everybody. Yeah. All right, here we go. Entries. Okay, let me start because this is being recorded. 3, 2. Okay, let's talk about entries. Now, an entry is, this is one of about probably 2 that I'm going to do on entries. It's a way to get from one side of the table to the other. If you're in your hand, you've won the last trick in your hand, you need to win a trick in the dummy in order perhaps to take a finesse or to cash some winners that are waiting over in the dummy for you. Or likewise, you may be in the dummy and you need a way to get to your hand. And so there are 2 things you need in the dummy. You need a card that will win a trick in the dummy, like the ace of spades here, and you need a small card that you can lead to it. So in this instance here, I have an entry to the dummy. I have the ace of spades. Now, I didn't set these up so that I had any reason to use these entries. I'm just using examples of entries. So if we change the situation here to this situation, I can now, win these diamonds in my hand, but I have no entry to the dummy because I don't have a small spade. I don't have a link card. I don't have a card that I can lead to the winner in the dummy. So you need 2 things. You need a winner in the other hand, and you need a link card that you can lead to it. So when we put a small spade back in our hand, then we have a way we can get to the dummy, and we can use that ace. Here's an example where the entry may not be the biggest card. It just has to be one that will win a trick. If I need to get to the dummy, I have the queen of spades. And since I also have the ace and the king, I'm able to lead a small card over to the queen and have it win a trick, and I can make it to the dummy. I have one entry to the dummy that way. This is a fun one. Can you find the entry to the dummy in the spades? It's there. This is where I invoke Mojo's first law of bridge, which is if you have a card, no one else at the table has that card. That's my first law of bridge. And in this instance, since you have all of the higher cards than the 9, you can lead over to the 9 and win a trick, and you have an entry to the dummy. You can really mess this up if you misplay it, because if you were to play, you know, your ace and your king, you would no longer have that entry. If you think of it, this is sort of a variation of the high card from the short side. You have a short side here and you have the high card, and the 9 may not look like a high card, but it is in this case. It's as high as all of the others. In this instance now, can you find 2 ways to get to the dummy twice? Oftentimes you may need to repeat a finesse or set up a suit and then go back and get your winners. And you may need to get to the other side of the table twice. In this instance, you have 2 entries, but you have to be careful, because if you play the 4 to the ace, you now have reduced yourself to 1 entry. Look at this now. If I come back to my hand in a diamond, now how can I get to the dummy? I cannot. I do not have a link card. How do I avoid that? Let's think about it for a moment. We can lead any of these cards. I like to be dramatic about it. I like to lead the king to the ace when I'm doing it. It's just my flair for drama. Because when you lead one of your big cards to the ace, now you can, if you're back in your hand, now you can lead your little one over to the 9, and you have 2 entries to the dummy. So that's how you can preserve your entries that way. Let's look at this example. Does this hand have any entries to the dummy? No, there are no link cards. You have no little cards. You only have the ace here. And this hand, this one's fun. How many entries to the dummy do you see in this hand? I see 3. I can get to the dummy 3 times. How do I do that? Like this. Let's lead the king to the ace. I love playing this one. We come back to our hand, and now we want to get to the dummy again. We want to repeat that finesse or whatever. And we lead the jack to the queen, and that works. And if we're back in our hand, then we can lead the 9 to the 10. And so we have 3 entries. And you know, when you're trying to set up a long suit or something like that, it might be convenient. All right, let's look at this for a moment. How many entries can you find in this hand? Hold up fingers. How many entries in the spades can you find? Okay, I see lots of 3s. It's actually only 2. Where's the third one? I can lead the 9 to the ace. I can lead the 2 to the queen, but the 7 is not a winner. The 7 is going to lose to the 8 or the 10 or the jack. So this is not an entry. You have 2 in this instance. Let's try this one. How many entries to the dummy do we have in this combination? Yes, it's only 1. It's because you don't have enough link cards. You don't have, if you had a second spade here, you could lead it to your other high card. But in this instance, you have only 1 entry. How many entries to the dummy do we have here? It's only 1. You can lead the 3 over to the 10, and that'll be it. You have no more winners in the dummy that you can use. Let's look at this one. How many entries do we count here? How many times can I get to the dummy? Yeah, this one's 3. We can lead the 2 to the 9, the 3 to the 10, and we can lead the queen or the jack to the king. And I love playing them that way. It has a little drama to it. All right. Do we have, how many entries to the dummy do we have in this combination? is 0. Yeah, exactly. None. You've got no little cards. You've got some great ones over here, but you have no entries to them. This is a tragic situation with this holding, because you've got all these winners in the dummy and there's no way to get to them. Now, entries are not always there when you start, but you can sometimes develop them. You can create entries where you need to. If I needed to get to the dummy, I would have this spade suit to use, and I can develop an entry through promotion. By leading a low card, I may not win the first one, but I might. It depends on where the ace is and when the opponents choose to use it. If they took their ace on the first trick, then I wouldn't have an entry. One of the hazards of doing this is that the opponents may take their ace on the first time, or they may not. So if you're not ready to be in the dummy, you haven't developed your winners or what have you, then you play that entry expecting the opponents to take their ace and they refuse to do so, now you do not have another entry. You cannot get two. You cannot get two out of it. In this instance, this is another fun way to develop an entry. Do you see any entries in this spade suit? Right now, you don't have any. How can we develop some? We can actually use the length of the suit. Let's watch how this works. Let's say we play the ace. We have 8 cards in the suit. The opponents have 5. And if we're lucky, they will fall 3 and 2. If everybody follows suit on this one, I know that I'm good. And there they are. They both followed with a spade. So now I can lose a trick. I've lost a trick. They're going to lead back a diamond because that's all I gave them. And now I can win that diamond. And now I have an entry to the dummy. I use the length of my suit, and now I can lead the 3 to the 8 and win a trick. Why does this matter? Maybe I've stranded some cards up there, some winners that I need to be able to take. And if I need to develop an entry, that might be how I do it. Here's an example where, in order to develop an entry, I'm going to have to take a finesse. In this case, you may not have an entry, but you might. If you need one, it might be your only hope. And when it's your only hope, then you have to take that chance just in case. If the ace is on the left and either they play it or they don't, then we have now developed an entry in the spade suit. And whatever they return, we can now make an entry. And so now I can play a small card to my king, and I have an entry to the dummy. All right, let's look at some exercises. What technique are we going to use to develop an entry with this hand? We have a pair of high cards, the king, queen. We can develop one entry by driving out the ace. We can use promotion. We can promote one of these. If we can promote one of these into a winner, we can develop one entry. There's an alternative as well. It might be that we have a finesse situation, but the finesse may not work in this case. For instance, the ace may be on this side, but when the ace is on this side and the opponents come back with a diamond, we can still use promotion to develop an entry in the spades, so we can win a trick in the spades this way. All right, what technique will we use with this? This one's a clear finesse. There's no opportunity to promote. But if we are ready to use our entry and we lead towards the dummy, if the left hand opponent has the ace of spades, then we can get an entry that way. Of course, there's no guarantees that this will work. It may be that we may not have an entry at all because this king may lose to the ace of spades, but it's 50-50. And if you have to have an entry in order to make your contract, 50-50 is a lot better than 0. Let's look at this one. Again, the technique we're going to use is a finesse. And in this case, we're hoping that the king is on our left side. And if it is, we'll be able to develop an entry with the queen. It's not a bad idea to play the ace first. It always helps because maybe the opponent's king are doubleton, and for instance, they may have to play it now. And if the king is on our left. We have now developed an entry by using a finesse. And now we can play the 8 to the queen. And you can see how that goes. I'll just do it for fun. Okay. What technique are we going to use here? Again, this is promotion. I'm going to try and promote winners by driving out the ace and the king in the suit. We're not going to have our entry until the third time we get to play the trick, which is why I've got all these diamonds here. But if we make the opponents take their 2 higher cards, then we can develop an entry using the jack with promotion. And now I can get an entry to the dummy. Here's our last one. Let me do this. And once again, this is just a repeat of developing an entry through length. This is a fun way to play it. If I have to get to the dummy somehow, and this is the only thing I've got, this is a technique that will work. I'm going to play lots of spades. I'm going to hope for a 3-2 split on the opponent's side. And I've got it. I can see that they both follow to the third one. Now I have to lose a spade. And when I get back to my hand, I've now developed an entry with the 9 of spades because the opponents don't have any. And my 9 is a winner. And now I can either cash my winners that I wanted to get over there and cash, or something like that. So I'm going to carry on with entries next week, talking about preserving entries, and we're going to look at ways of making good use of them and estimating when we might need entries, why and when, that sort of thing. So thank you all for coming, and good luck in the games if you're playing at 10 o'clock or 12:20 or 12:30, and Happy New Year.